like in the title, like a good thing to talk about is the hit pieces, man. Because this happened to me too. It was really stupid, but it happened to you way more. Where like all the and it's still to this day, by the way, I noticed still like mainstream popular media like Rolling Stones and stuff still just like say that Amber Heard was abused, a victim.
Well, Rolling Stone, okay, it looks like a lot of these different places, right? You're like, oh man, look at all these outlets. But most of these outlets are owned by the same place. Like Penske Media owns Rolling Stone, Variety, Hollywood. I mean, you could just go down this list. And when you look at it that way, well, yeah, I mean, you have 3 outlets with a narrative.
Yep. And the funny thing is that I had a random tweet one day where there was this lady. And she was basically like, every morning, me and my husband drink coffee in our garden for hours. And immediately,
I remember that.
Immediately, as a redneck man, that's been married and stuff, I'm like, well, that's not real. Because unless you're a multimillionaire, that's not real. Like, you guys have to go to work or you have to do something. You can't sit in your garden for hours every morning drinking coffee for some reason. Yeah. So I just retweeted, or I quote tweeted or whatever. And I said, I was like, basically, it must be nice to be rich enough to do that because normal people can't do that. We have to like go do our lives. And she like responded to it and was like, we're not rich, blah, 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 blah. And then like 2 days later, I was in Rolling Stone. And they were like, you would think they call me a professional, by the way. They were like, you would think a professional YouTuber would understand time management and how it's, you're capable of doing certain things as long as you have good time management. I'm like, no one can sit in a damn garden for hours in the morning, but whatever. And she was like, we're not rich, bro. And I went, and people like, I don't think it was me, but a lot of people went and looked up her like net worth and her husband, because her husband was some like BMX star or something. And their net worth was like, just her net worth was like 2.5 million, not counting him. And I'm like, what the fuck? So of course I tweet that shit. I'm like, oh, your net worth. And then people had the audacity to be like, you do realize like $2.5 million is like not that much, right? And I'm like, I will kill myself. Like, because if I had $2.5 million in just assets right now, which I mean, God, dude, I'd be flying across the country, man. I'd be, what the hell? $2.5 million is not the to who? To who? Come on, dude. It was just such a silly thing. God. We sit in.
Well, that's what I love about Twitter. We can slap fight over anything, but it's hilarious. Like, again, like you're saying, the Rolling fucking Stone. They did a hit piece on you just shit posting a little on Twitter.
Yeah. You know what that reminds me of? It reminds me of when Guardians of the Galaxy 3 came out. And it's the movies, whatever. I enjoyed it. But I see articles every day where it's like fans, and it just says fans, like, fans of the movie. Fans urge Marvel to put a trigger warning on the movie for the animal cruelty. And I'm like, when you say fans, what do you mean? Do you mean 3 people on Twitter that might have said it randomly with zero like interaction on their tweets? Because that's pretty much where we're at now. One person, for what was that? What was that one lady? Maybe Reva. I think her character was named Reva in Star Wars. She was claiming that people were coming after her in her Instagram DMs, and it was like 2 screenshots of just 2 messages where they're like, "Here, go back to your country," like stuff like that. And then it was like, all of a sudden, there's just millions of people that were being racist to this lady, and I'm like, no, that's 2 people out of billions. What is wrong with y'all?
I'm like, read my fucking interactions. Jeez.
Yeah. Dude, I had a dude say he was going to beat me to death with a baseball bat one time.
Yeah. I'm like, I've had a few people be like, what would look prettier on your face? A bullet through your eye. I'm like, oh, that's nice.
Jesus.
Yeah. It's like, hey, well,
God.
Yeah, nice people, But I mean, that's just, that is, take it how you will. That is the internet, and all its beauty and ugliness.
I don't know how we got to this point, man. It's absolutely insane to me. Like, what did you think? So, you were covering Amber Heard before any of that shit went to trial, right? So or at least in the US, you were covering the shit out of it for a long time.
Yeah. And then I covered before the UK trial, actually, for a long time.
Yeah. And then, of course, it goes to trial and your shit explodes, obviously, because it's gonna, because you've been talking about it for so long. Your live stream number is huge. Everything's huge. And when they started like actually referring to you in the actual trial, what did they call you? The Umbrella Man?
Yeah, at first.
The Umbrella Man. Like what was going through your head when that shit happened?
That was surreal, man. I mean, you're talking about like the biggest trial that we've had, at least, for a long time. You could argue it's the biggest trial that, I mean, we've ever seen in our lifetime. I would say, more people tuned into it than OJ because we have instant access now.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was really it was surreal, and it was kind of life changing too, because you talk about you talk about that stuff. That trial paid for my house, so thank you.
Yeah, dude. It's like it might have been you or Nick that said this, because I remember you were like covering the trial at the same time. But some hit piece was posting how much you earned, I guess, because that's a negative thing. People, making money. But they posted like a hit piece claiming all these people made this amount, like law tubers basically made this much money covering the trial. And it was either you or Nick was like, they looked at they were like pulled it up on their stream and they're like, oh, here's how much they said I made. Yeah, I made way more than that. No, it's just
Nick told how much exactly. I don't ever try to brag about money because I know a lot of people have hard times there. But when they're trying to call it out, it's like you have no idea. Those totals. Yeah, you have no fucking clue.
Yeah, when it's because they get it from like some random websites. But man, if I was in that position to where like these, rich, entitled, like 20-year-old white girl journalists are like making a hit piece on my ass, and they're like, he made this much and I only make 46 grand a year maybe, and he made like 280 grand. I'd be like, bitch, I made 600. Eat my ass. Yeah, that's right. That would go.
That's funny. I mean, people like Taylor Lorenz, we found out that, she came from a very well-to-do family, a lot of money behind her. And, Internet Archive, one of her relatives owns that. That's why shit disappears. But yeah, those people are complaining about you actually monetizing a trial. Fuck them.
Yeah, that's the craziest shit in the world. It's like when celebrities, shout at, guns or whatever, goofy law that they disagree with. That's always, on the right, obviously, because they're celebrities. They're complaining about it whilst having that privilege. Mm-hmm. So a better example is politicians. They'll be like, politicians on a certain side will be like, we need to ban this shit. And it's like, but you have like guards that walk around you all day with guns.
Exactly.
Like, I don't have that. And since I can't have my guards, I want my 12 gauge.
Yeah, I mean, shit, I would say that we deal with as much, like doing this, we deal with as much, if not more hate than at least your standard politician, and like you said, they have armed guards supplied and everything else. We're not supposed to be able to defend ourselves. Fuck all that.
Yeah, it's like, what was that? What is it? Was it during COVID where all these celebrities sang Imagine by John Lennon?
Yeah, that was.
And they're all in their mansions sitting like on the side their pool, and they're like, imagine no possessions. It's easy if you try. And I'm just like, I will kill myself in front of all of you. How dare you? How dare you? It is actually pretty easy to sing that and be like, I'm helping people when you're like sitting in your Ferrari driver's seat.
Yep. Like,
God, it's so ridiculous. It's like you have no idea. You have no idea what struggling is because you've been just so damn rich for so damn long.
Well, they show people how out of touch they were. That's when Ellen DeGeneres and a bunch of other people, they tanked who they were. They tanked their careers because they sat on that soapbox and they told the rest of us, oh, you need to isolate. You if you lose your job, that's okay. You can fall back on your millions.
Yeah.
It's like, what the fuck?
It's like, why is your house so dirty? Why can't you just get your butler to clean it? And it's like, oh, really? Well, it just so happens I don't have a goddamn butler. Like, it just so happens I don't have a chef. Okay, can't make me my damn food. And that was the thing, is that's the one good thing about the advent of social media. I think social media destroyed the world kind of, but one thing about it is it showed everybody, because celebrities would appear here and there, like in a tabloid. You didn't know if it was true, maybe in an actual interview on the extras of a DVD thing, or maybe on TMZ or some bullshit where they're like saying whatever their PR's letting them say. But then you give them direct access to Twitter and they just say the dumbest shit possible. Like Mark Ruffalo, when he was tweeting about what's the kid's name? Rittenhouse. And he was like, our hearts go out to JoJo and the other guy, and like how, like, basically saying Rittenhouse is a monster. And I'm like, Mark Ruffalo, for one, I hate you. And two, like, one of these dudes, and both of them were like felons, but one of them had assaulted small children and was convicted 5 times for it.
Yep.
And he's like, poor JoJo, me. And I'm like, JoJo deserved him way more than 1 bullet. Like, I'm just putting this out there, you know. So
yeah, if we had any justice in the world, yeah.
Why was he out on the street? Like, that's my thing. Is like, why was he not in jail? How do you not be in jail after doing that 5 times? Like, God, it's crazy.
It's because our system doesn't care about male survivors, and it doesn't care about fucking children survivors. That's why.
Yeah. And the insane thing to me is that people will always be like, well, you can say that, right? You can be like, well, I think he deserved to die and he should have died even harder. And people are like, so you're just totally for vigilante justice. You just don't care about the process. And I'm like, A, you don't either when it doesn't go in your favor. And B, yes, I am for vigilante justice when it comes to that guy.
I've worked in mental health for a long time. I work with nobody, fuck those people. You sit across the table from a few thousand little kids telling you the worst shit imaginable. Hell yes. I'm all for vigilante justice after that.
Yeah. And I think, you know what I think it is? I think it's people that can't fathom what's happening. So there's people, and this is just a comparison. There's this one girl, her name's Carrie. She's always in my chat, and she doesn't believe in aliens. Now look, that's whatever, but she doesn't believe in aliens because her mind can only like conjure like 24 planets in the universe. Like even and I can tell her ass. I can be like, there's actually 68 quintuple blue blah blah random number that I've never heard before, gajillions. Like the zeros go down like 50 pages. That's how many planets that they likely is in the universe. Like more than every grain of salt or sand that exists on this planet. So laws of averages say there's probably actually billions of planets that have life on them. Like, therefore, aliens probably exist. It's just they can't get here because we are far as hell away. And that's pretty much it. But even if I say that, she's like, yeah, I just don't agree. And I'm like, how can you not agree? This is not a debate. But anyways, so I think people can't fathom is when you say, you do realize Joseph Rosenbaum like did some heinous shit to some children, and it like goes in one ear and out the other. They're like, vigilante justice though is wrong. And I'm like, did you not hear what I said? Like, I would shotgun him if I could have. Like, are you not listening? Like, do you think that's bad? And they're like, that's bad, yes. And you're like, okay, so he should have died. And they're like, no. And I'm like, what the fuck's wrong with you? How can you possibly say this?
It also proved, history of violence, all this other bull. I mean, just so much about these people becomes, and this is really what just a random person could run into when all this shit was going on. I kept thinking, there's a bigger picture that's being painted here. We have pedophiles and monsters running amok in our streets, and nothing's being done about it. It took multiple people getting shot for us to be like, wait a minute, that there's a fucking pedophile running around here that did this 5 times. Oh wait, there's another criminal and another. Oh shit.
Yeah, all these people that are being intentionally violent in the protest were all like fucked up felons. They weren't just normal people being like, we need justice and they were like, no, I'm here to break shit. Like, that's why they were there in the first damn place.